Hi everyone, this is 7 Star from the Center for Self-Compassion, and this is the online course, The Path of Courage, Self-Care During Crisis. This is part 1 of the course, Caring for Your Emotions. And before I kind of get into the content of caring for your emotions, I wanted to just talk a little bit about self-compassion and what it is and why it is so critical in general for life, and especially critical during a time where you may be experiencing a lot of stress. So self-compassion means that you are returning essentially to your true nature. And the true nature of a human is open, loving awareness. So there is a self present in any moment, which I call the authentic self of the moment. So whatever is arising here and now as you, that is the authentic self. So that means thoughts that you're having or feelings that you're having. And when I say feelings, I mean physical feelings like I'm hungry, or I cut myself, or I can feel someone touching me. It also includes emotions, which are physical feelings. So emotions are energy in your body. They're actual physical phenomena. So you'll have electrical impulses and chemicals running through your body that you can feel. And that's what we call emotions. So you have thoughts arising, you have emotions, physical feelings and emotional feelings arising. And then you'll have wants and needs also arising. So whatever is arising in this moment now, as you, that is what I call the authentic self of the moment. Most people refer to that as me and myself. However, there is another presence, which is just presence. So there is this presence that is open, aware presence, or open, aware, loving space, in which the authentic self is allowed to arise and be expressed. So practicing self-compassion means that you return to this natural state of open, loving awareness that is aware of the self that is arising in this moment. And when you are aware of the self arising, then you can pay attention to it, attune to it, listen to it, and take care of it. So this is the practice of self-compassion. Now, why is this so important? The reason why the practice of self-compassion is so important is that if you don't practice self-compassion, meaning that you run away from your emotions and you're not in touch with your emotions and you're not aware of what is arising here and now as you, then your emotions will be dictating your behavior and you'll not be aware that that's what's happening. So most people think that their behavior comes from decisions that they're making with their brain, but actually most behavior is a result of emotions that a person is feeling. So if you don't want to be led around blindly in life by your emotions, then you need to practice self-compassion. And when people are led around and when they let their behavior be dictated by how they're feeling, they end up doing terrible things. So if you are unaware, if you are not connected and you're not experiencing or being with your feelings, then you're trying to get away from them or avoid them. And there are 2 ways to do that. You can act out your feelings or you can act in on your feelings. So acting out means that you have some emotion in your body, and in order to try to get away from it, you throw it out into the world around you. You project it onto things and people that are not appropriate. So if you're not aware that you're not in touch with your anger that you have at your boss for something that happened at work, you're carrying that emotion in your body, but you're unaware of it. You're unaware of where it really comes from. You may find yourself getting extremely irritated at little things, like your spouse forgetting to do the dishes, or your child leaving their mess on the floor, or the leaky faucet, or getting cut off on the freeway, or what have you. And you think that those things are actually causing your emotion. So it's a lot of blaming and then trying to control. So acting out is blaming someone else or something else for your feelings, and then trying to control that someone or something else. So that's choice number 1. Choice number 2, in order to get away from your feelings, is to act in. Acting in means that you try to suppress or squish down or push away your own emotions. So you're actually suppressing yourself. So this would involve things like any kind of addictive behavior, like eating too much, watching television, or shopping, or trying to distract yourself, or pretending like everything is fine, or gossiping, or overworking, or pretty much anything that you do in order to trick your mind into forgetting about how you feel, just to avoid having these feelings at all, period. So you're acting in. Now, both of these, acting in and acting out, are acts of self-abandonment. So if you think about all of the terrible things that people do in life to other people, I mean, including absolutely the worst things that people do, you can see how all of those things are acts of acting out. They're not able to be with their emotions as open, loving awareness, where they're accepting how they're feeling, and they're meeting how they're feeling, and they're experiencing how they're feeling. Instead, they're trying to run away from that by throwing that feeling out into the world, often as anger. Anger is a way to get away from underlying feelings. And then they may do terrible, terrible things, starting from, they might do small little things like yelling at their dog, or the mail carrier, or someone who cuts them off in traffic, all the way up to murder, or starting wars, and all kinds of horrible things. These are all examples of acting out. And then we can all think of examples of acting in, all kinds of addictions, using alcohol or drugs or overeating, or self-reprimanding, having that voice in your mind that tells you that something's wrong with you, you should be feeling this way, and you're a bad person. All of those are examples of acting in. And they can also be very severe, up to, physical self-harm and suicide. So if you don't practice self-compassion, it's very, very dangerous, because your mind is running amok, and your emotions are running amok, and your emotions are running the show, and you may end up doing great harm to yourself or to the world. So now, in a time where there is very, very high stress, such as now when we have the pandemic, self-compassion is very important to pay attention to, because it's really easy to abandon yourself when you are overwhelmed with negative emotions that you don't want to feel. When there is a time of crisis, there'll be negative feelings, negative emotions arising probably on a daily basis. And our survival instinct is to try to get away from those feelings. So we'll be acting out. And if you act out, you could be making your situation worse, because you maybe are at home and you're with other people and you're trapped there with other people. You might be yelling at them or arguing with them, or having a very difficult time tolerating their behavior, or getting irritated with all kinds of little things. Or you may be acting in, where you're trying to suppress your anxiety or suppress your grief by eating too much, or watching too much television, or over-exercising, or overworking, or indulging in whatever it is you indulge in that helps you pretend like you have no feelings. So we're going to talk about how to deal with, or how to meet, or how to be with feelings that may be arising during this stressful time. That is a self-compassion approach, which is neither acting out nor acting in. So first, I want to talk about the feelings of grief and loss. Because during this time, you may have lost parts of your life that were very important to you before the stay-at-home order, such as you lost your job, or you may have lost some important relationships. You lost social time, social connection. You've lost activities that you enjoy. You may have lost money or possessions. So I want you to do now an exercise where we're going to meet or be with your feeling of grief and loss. So what I'd like you to do is to write down something that you have lost because of the pandemic, something that you are grieving for. Just one thing. Now, under that one thing that you have lost or that you're grieving for, such as you lost your job, I want you to write down why that loss is so painful. What is it about losing that is so hard to come to terms with? What is so terrible about having lost that? What is it that you have really lost that you're really grieving? So, for example, if you wrote down that you lost your job, why is it that having lost your job is so emotionally difficult for you? Perhaps you lost social time with people that you enjoyed at your job, or you lost a sense of self-worth, you lost a sense of importance, you lost a sense of doing something meaningful in your life. You could have lost a source for you of a distraction, like we talked about earlier, for your emotions that you're trying to avoid or things you're trying to avoid. Certainly a job can become an addiction. Or you simply lost some pleasurable feelings that you used to experience doing certain activities at your job. So again, I want you to write down one thing that you lost during or because of the pandemic during the last 2 months or so, something that you're grieving for, that you miss. And then I want you to write down why it is that it's so difficult. What is it that you've really lost? What is it that you're really grieving? Okay, if you need more time to write, you can certainly pause the video. What I would like you to do next, when you're finished with that, is to write down this phrase. When I think about losing blank, whatever you wrote down that you lost, such as your job. So when I think about losing blank, I feel in my body blank. Okay, when I think about losing X, I feel in my body Y. And what I want you to do is just get quiet for a moment. And I want you to just notice what you feel in your body when you think about what you have lost and why that's so hard for you or why that's so painful. So you don't need to name the feeling like, well, I feel sad or I feel scared or I feel despair. I just want you to notice what's happening in your body. So anytime a negative feeling comes up, you can do this. So I want you to notice, again, the energy of the feeling in your body. There's chemical things happening and electrical things happening. So you may have a tightness or a contracting, or you might have a kind of an overwhelm, pressure feeling, or maybe you have an actual sharp pain, or you have an ache, or you just feel tired, like you have no energy. Whatever you're feeling in your body, I want you to write that in that space. When I think about losing my job, my source of income, my purpose, I want you to write down how you feel in your body. What do you feel arising in your body? Okay, and if you need more time for that, you can pause the video. What I want you to do next is to name the emotion. So when I think about losing my job, I feel in my body a sense of tightness in my chest. I feel a pain in my stomach. I feel a shortness of breath. And now the next part is I call that feeling despair, or whatever you call that feeling. I call that feeling sadness, or I call those sensations helplessness, or I call those sensations anxiety. Okay? So whatever name you call those sensations in your body. This is important because there really is no such thing as anxiety or sadness or despair. These are just labels that we put on a constellation of physical phenomena that are happening in the body. And when you have negative emotions, you can really just go in and meet those feelings. And what are they really? When I think about losing my job, well, my heart starts racing, or I feel overwhelmed, I feel pressure in my chest, I feel a pain in my stomach. Okay, so you can be with all those sensations. Okay, you don't have to do anything about them. So when I think about losing X, I feel in my body Y. I call that feeling Z. So next, what I want you to do is to talk to yourself. So now you are coming to yourself, to your authentic self, who is having these feelings, and you as awareness and presence are coming to that authentic self. and saying, I'm here for you. I'm here to support you. And I really want you to, if you are comfortable, to practice talking to yourself out loud. Saying something out loud is a lot different than thinking it in your mind or writing it on a piece of paper. So if you are in a place where you can talk out loud and you feel comfortable doing so, I really encourage you to do this. Now, if talking to yourself in a kind and loving way is uncomfortable for you, then that is good information for you to know. That really attuning to yourself and your feelings as though you're anyone else in the world who needs help and needs taking care of, if that is uncomfortable for you, then that's a good signal to you that this is something you really, really need to start to do. Because you are the one now who is going to care for and love yourself. That way, you're not always looking out there in the world for someone to do that for you. Because that causes a whole other big box of problems when we're looking for something out there to help us feel loved. You are love, and you as love can love yourself. And that means that you're tuning to the self, you're paying attention to the self, you're recognizing the self, and you're caring for the self. So, what I would like you to say is, I see you are feeling despair, for example, because you lost your job. It makes sense that you would feel that way. I'm here for you as long as you need to feel that way. There's no problem with that feeling. Now, is there anything I can do to support you right now? Okay, so I'm going to say this one more time. And I want you to repeat after me. Okay? I see you are feeling because you lost. It makes sense that you would feel that way. I'm here for you as long as you need to feel that way. There's no problem with that feeling. Is there anything I can do to support you right now? And now I want you, as the authentic self, to really hear that question, is there anything I can do to support you right now? And if there is, go ahead and write that down. Now, I want to say, when you ask, is there anything I can do to support you? That means that you're supporting the person in being with their feelings. So you're supporting yourself in being with your feelings. It doesn't mean that you're going to try to solve the problem and take the pain away. The reason is, there are two main reasons. The first reason is that if you take away someone's pain, or if you just try to hurry up and solve whatever you think is causing the pain, then you're taking away that person's chance to practice self-compassion, because there are always going to be feelings that you cannot make go away. So you need to have this skill of self-compassion. So don't take away your opportunity to practice. In this way, you can view any negative emotion as an opportunity to practice self-love. It's not something to run away from or to get rid of. It's an opportunity for you to practice loving your authentic self. So that is the first reason. The second reason is that if you're trying to control things by fixing the situation that you think is causing your emotion, first of all, you're mistaken, because your situation isn't causing your emotion. And secondly, that is what I call acting out. Trying to control the situation that you think is at fault for how you're feeling. So instead of just being with your feelings, you're doing whatever you can to get some other replacement for your job or whatever. Or maybe you say to yourself, is there anything I can do to support you? And yourself says, yeah, bring me a vodka martini. So that would be acting in. I'm not talking about acting out or acting in or trying to fix your circumstance or trying to run away from your feelings. I'm talking about, is there anything I can do to support you in being with these feelings? Okay? And maybe there's nothing. You're just going to sit here and breathe or drink a glass of water. That's fine. Okay? Emotions are not something that you need to control or run away from. And truly in life, whatever situation is happening, whatever emotions you may be experiencing, it's all an opportunity to practice loving yourself, opening to yourself, and thereby opening your heart in general, and returning to your true nature, who you really are, which is just open, loving awareness. So today we practiced self-compassion by being with our feelings of grief and loss. And again, you could do this over and over. You could do this with many other different losses, different feelings. This is just an example. And you can do this at any time during the day or night when these feelings come up. This is what you will do instead of acting out or acting in. So this is part 1 of the Path of Courage. I call it the Path of Courage because doing this takes serious courage. Running away from your feelings by acting out or trying to control things or acting in, trying to deny how you feel, is the coward way out because you're running away. It's abandoning yourself. It's jumping ship. You're running away from yourself. It would be as if a small child is coming to you and they're sad and they're having these feelings. They say, I'm really sad. I need support. And you say, oh, I can't deal with that. Oh God, get away. Or no, don't feel sad at all. I will fix it right now and will not have to feel sad. Either way, you're denying the experience, the authentic experience of that child. So when you're acting out or in, you're denying your authentic self, the expression of your authentic self, which really just wants to be seen and heard and recognized and cared for. And you can do that. So the next class will be next week, and it's called Remembering Your Purpose. So we're going to actually talk about the feelings of fear and anxiety and how you can come back to remembering what it is you are here to do, no matter what is going on. So you are here at this particular time in history while this is happening for a reason. This is part of the destiny of your life stream, of your body. This is the time that you are supposed to be here. You still have the same purpose. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about meeting your fear and anxiety. And we're also going to talk about stopping the cycle of judging yourself and judging your thoughts and judging your feelings. So that is next week. It's called Remembering Your Purpose. Thanks for watching part 1 of the Path of Courage. This Thursday at 7 p.m. I'll be hosting a Zoom meeting from 7 to 8 p.m. Pacific time. So please do join me on the meeting. The link to the meeting is in the course description. And I'll be giving another brief lecture during the meeting, and I would love to hear all of your experiences with this and just see how you're all doing and see your faces. And of course, I'll be available to answer any questions that you have about the material. So again, that's this Thursday from 7 to 8 p.m. Pacific time. The link for the Zoom meeting is in the course description. So I hope to see you. And then part 2 of the course will be posted next Monday. Thanks a lot, guys. Remember, you are not the self. You are the love that loves the self.